Yeah, perfect.
Oh, yeah.
Response to this?
No, no, no.
Yeah,
Well, I don't want to review it and just email it, but I want to get my spite. Then we'll follow up. We're not objecting that it's here.
No, no, not at all. We were talking. Thank you. Please continue. Way better than yours. Ownership.
2 minutes to go. No.
Yeah. Hey. Yeah.
All right. I know a lot of people are here in the Coke Fairlag team, but for the people that are here that intend to take the podium tonight and are 5 minutes open to the public, if you intend to do that, have you signed in? Going once? So you intend to take it? So you intend to take the podium? Okay, great. And you are, so, what's your last name?
I scheduled another PLC meeting Wednesday morning. And that'll be.
You are the sole person. Oh, Art, you want to say it? You want to talk? Oh. All right. Okay, so we just had one. And Karen, whenever you are ready, I think I've got this somewhat. All right, let's bring the Thursday, September 7th, 2023 Webster Town Board meeting to order. Pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now, can you do that roll, please?
Supervisor Flaherty?
Here.
Councilman Abbott?
Here.
Councilwoman Falvey? Present. Councilman Cahill? Councilwoman Wynn? Here. And sitting in for Town Attorney Genesi, this is Attorney Taylor.
Here. All right, well, we have a pretty robust schedule tonight, but we're starting out with something that I think we can all agree is a fun one. I'll call it fun. Holly Dutcher is here from the microphone, all right, come over here. Gotta get one of those mics, right? Holly, can you come up here, please? So, tonight, Holly Dutcher is here from Cure Childhood Cancer Association, and we are doing a proclamation tonight honoring Childhood Cancer Awareness Month, presented to Cure. So I'm going to read off this. Whereas the Cure Childhood Cancer Association is an organization that is dedicated to helping children in our community who are diagnosed with cancer. And whereas this incredible organization is nationally recognized for their support of families with children diagnosed with cancer and blood disorders, and whose mission is to increase awareness of the prevalence of childhood cancer. And whereas it is important to understand that there are families in our Webster community who are fighting childhood cancer every day, and that Cure will continue their commitment to our community and help all children who are fighting for the chance to grow up and have successful futures. Now therefore it be resolved that by the power invested in me as the town supervisor and on behalf of the Webster Town Board, we hereby honor September as Childhood Cancer Awareness Month and join together with this organization as we continue to raise awareness and support all families in the fight against childhood cancer. So Holly, I'm going to present that to you, and would you like to say a few words to a pretty good crowd? Sure.
Well, Cure Childhood Cancer Association is so appreciative of this recognition because September is Childhood Cancer Awareness Month, And for those who don't know, the awareness ribbon is gold. So if you see gold ribbons around, or I have gold shoelaces on, I'm wearing them for the kiddos. So anything you can do to raise awareness is super important, because right now only 9% of government-funded research for cancers is allocated to children. In the past 20 years, only 36 drugs have been made available for children with cancer, and of those 36, I believe it's 29 are tested on adults, and just the quantities and everything are altered for children. So there are only 6 drugs currently that are available for children for childhood cancer, specifically designed for children. So raising awareness is very important. I gave you guys all gold sunglasses,
Yes,
so
you
hopefully
did.
you'll see your town representatives cruising around town with gold sunglasses, but it really makes a difference to our families. We have over 50 children a year in the Rochester area diagnosed, and we lose about 15. So we're just so appreciative of this, and hopefully you will all join us and your town to raise awareness for childhood cancer.
Thanks, Holly. All right, get my steps in, child. Okay, next up on the docket is the open to the floor section, where each speaker is allowed up to 5 minutes on the podium to speak about anything they choose. And tonight we only had one gentleman sign in, and he's Andrew Dunning. You are up.
Hi everyone, thanks for letting me have a few minutes to speak. I want to talk about the Fairlife Coca-Cola deal coming to Webster. And I know it sounds like a sweet deal, but Fairlife Corporation has an ugly side to them. A lot of people don't know, and the side is lying and horrible animal abuse. They lost a lawsuit a year and a half ago and had to pay out $21 million. That's half of what Mineral County and I forgot who else is giving to the town to start this project. And I just want you to consider that this company, and you can go online and look at the horrific animal abuse at their dairy farms, and it's pretty awful to look at. And then them lying to cover it up, but they lost the lawsuit and had to dish out $21 million. And just to give a little background, we're heading into a big decades of climate change. Animal agriculture, transportation, and energy are in the top 3. It would be way better to bring a green project like plant-based milk here, not a dairy. I know this is all about jobs, and that sounds good and everything. I'm a little nervous, but it would be better to bring something green here. Milk is actually slowly going out of business, but we subsidize it to the tune of billions of dollars in America. We actually make too much milk in New York State right now as it is for the demand, as more and more people find out about the cruelty and how bad it is for human health. It doesn't grow strong bones, that's a myth. We've all been brought up drinking milk. I haven't drank milk in 20 years. The bottom line is I'd like Webster to just reconsider this proposal. I mean, when else would you bring a company in to a town? They had to pay out a $21 million lawsuit for lying to cover up horrific animal abuse. And I just really think about it, and if you're brave enough, go online and you can look at on YouTube and look at this abuse and reconsider dairy in your own lives. But it'd be better to bring a green project here, not something that's going to contribute to climate change, which our kids and grandkids are going to have to face. And we saw it this summer. Everything's heating up and the water's rising. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Before we move on, out of fairness, there is several people here from the Coke Fairlife teams. Do you, anything you want to say on that, or? No? Lauren, go right ahead. Go right ahead.
So thank you very much for your comments. I'm Lauren Craig, I'm with the Coca-Cola Company. We do have a veterinarian on staff at Fairlife. Her name is Marissa, you might have met her along the way. That usually will help kind of talk through the animal abuse. We appreciate the question, we understand it, you're right, we look at the internet, it is not something that we are proud of. For context, though, that farm was a supplier that as soon as we saw that abuse underway, we immediately stopped working with them, and that rightfully forced us to undergo some really intense animal welfare work that now is one of the most aggressive in the country. So I'm happy to talk to you more about it. I appreciate the comments, but as it relates to the abuse itself, you know.
Can I make a comment
Sure.
right now? In dairy, cruelty is inherent. You can't, every cow born is killed and turned into veal. The day he's born, a lot of people don't know that. A cow has to be impregnated, she has a 9-month gestation. Every other cow born is a male, just like humans, every other species. When that cow is born, they shoot it in the head and kill it and turn it into veal, or they wait 3 months and buy veal. There's just so much cruelty in that industry, and we didn't know that when we were younger. I believe Coca-Cola is probably trying to do the right thing, but there's just no way. It's just a very cruel industry. And dairy isn't good for human health. That's always been in that. They're the highest rates of cancer.
Yes, and Andrew, I appreciate this.
All right,
If you're not on
okay,
the, if you're not on the podium, you're,
All right, I
nobody
guess,
can hear you that's watching the tape.
Okay, I
Thank you,
guess.
Lauren,
Thank
for
you.
your comments.
Thank you.
Andrew, thank you for your
I would like to
comments.
talk to you more.
Appreciate it. Okay, that concludes our open to the floor section of the meeting. And to two previous board meetings minutes to be considered for approval. The August 17th regular town board meeting, I've gone over those minutes. I make a motion that we approve them.
Second.
Supervisor Flaherty?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Councilwoman Wynn? Aye. Councilwoman Cataldi? Aye. Councilman Abbott?
Aye.
And the August 24th town board workshop, I make a motion that we approve those minutes.
Second.
Supervisor Flaherty?
Aye.
Councilman Abbott?
Aye.
Councilwoman Cataldi? Aye. Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Councilwoman Wynn? Aye.
All right. Our first three resolutions of the night kind of fall, well, maybe more than our first three, but let's go with the first three. Paul Adams, our finance director, and I'll just, well, actually, the first one, Patty, you reviewed the bills, right?
I did. I reviewed the bills today and everything was in order. I would make a motion that we pay the bills.
Second. Councilwoman Cataldi?
Aye.
Councilwoman Wynn? Aye. Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Councilman Abbott?
Aye.
Supervisor Flaherty?
Aye. And I apologize, it wasn't the first three, it's the next three. The second one, I reviewed the prepaid warrants as submitted by Paul Adams, Director of Finance, make a motion that we approve those.
Second?
Supervisor Flaherty?
Aye.
Councilwoman Cataldi?
Aye.
Councilman Abbott?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Councilwoman Wynn? Aye.
And I also make a motion we approve the purchase orders as submitted by Paul Adams, Director of Finance.
Second?
Supervisor Flaherty?
Aye.
Councilwoman Cataldi?
Aye.
Councilman Abbott?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Councilwoman Wynn? Aye.
Okay, now the next three or four have Paul Adams written all over them, but there's also a great Connard, our HR director, and potentially a Don McGuire, our town clerk, aspect of this. I'll let you guys fight over the explanation, but the first one, Paul, I'll let you give a little.
Yeah, Tom, just to give you a little introduction on the fees. The town obviously has many fees, which I think are posted to our website, so you can see that. But we've now made it a practice to adopt those fees in conjunction with the annual budget. So we're going to have a little discussion on them tonight. And the plan is to adopt them the same night we adopt the 2024 budget. So, I mean, the fees run the gamut, but they include many things. The building department includes things like building permits, C of Os, and engineering. You have fill permits. There's a 3.5% engineering fee that's paid on new developments. There's fire safety inspections. On the highway side of things, there's right-of-way permits, driveways. In our sewage treatment plant, there's actually a fee of $1.50 per linear foot for televising a sewer line. There's an entrance fee of $1,000 for either a home or commercial industry entering the sewer system. On the town clerk side, you have things like dog licenses, marriage licenses, peddler's permits, etc. And on the Parks and Rec side, there's fees for lodge rentals, room and gym use charges, and there's also a parkland fee that is paid with any new home that is built of $1,200. And those funds actually go in the Parkland Trust Fund, and they can be used for park improvements. So those are basically the highlights of the fees. If you want to see the complete detail, as I said, it is out on the website.
Yeah, and one thing, I mean, a couple of years ago, we really had the department heads revamped, and we got rid of some fees and updated some fees, because, you know, they had been changing. There's no real big changes from 2023
No.
to 2024, correct? Right.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. No
Any
changes.
questions by the board members on this? Didn't think so. I'm gonna make a motion, well, actually, no. I don't think there is a motion. This is an introduction because this will tie into October 19th or after that when we adopt the budget. Okay. All right. Well, Brayden, now that I've got the rhythm of an introduction and not a resolution, take over for number 5 tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. Along the same veins, with the adoption of the budget, one of the major parts of the budget is personnel expense. And so the list of authorized positions has been provided to the town board, and I believe it's part of the town board package on the website for tonight. And this delineates which full-time and part-time positions exist in the town. And this is a new practice for the town. Previously, it was not an accounting for positions. It was just based on line item funding. And so this will give the town board and department heads better ability to manage the head count as well as manage vacancies. And I think it'll provide additional transparency to the public. So it would not require action tonight, but would be hopefully adopted in conjunction with the budget, the personnel funding within the budget.
Okay, any questions from board members on this?
No?
The only comment I would make on what Paul Adams and Brayden said about the fee schedule and the authorized positions, they are commensurate with the tentative budget that we are about to make a motion, a resolution to adopt for 2024. Really, that fee schedule and those authorized positions, they're foundational to the budget. So before we move on to number 6 and make a motion to approve the budget, the tentative budget, Dolly, I think Paul Adams submitted to you on September 1st or August 31st? August 29th. Okay, so that's, I guess, gets recorded in that it was submitted. And then tonight is the town board's resolution to adopt this tentative budget for 2024. And then over the next 6 weeks, first of all, this tentative budget, if it's approved, if it's not already, it'll be on our website, line item by line item. I think we're the only town in Monroe County that does that for the accountants who can't sleep at night, who want to look at every line item. It will also be published in the Webster Today October edition, which will hit every mailbox in the town of Webster, residential and commercial properties. Somewhere in the first week of October, we'll have a public hearing on this tentatively. I think it's set for October 19th, Paul?
Correct.
So we got a lot left before we have the final adopted 2024 budget, but I don't think I'm hyperbolic when I say that this is a major milestone in the budget process, because the tentative budget that we've been working on really since May for 2024, this does stay under the New York State tax cap. It is respectful and actually adheres to our fund balance policy that Paul worked on diligently and the town board adopted 2 years ago, I think. Those are my comments. Any questions or comments before I make a motion to adopt this budget?
Yeah, Tom, once the town board votes on the tentative budget, it becomes the preliminary budget, which is then presented to the town clerk. And that preliminary budget is not allowed to be changed until we have a public hearing. We think we'll have that public hearing on October 19th. And any further changes would have to be made by board resolution.
That's an important term. Okay, now any questions? No? So, no? I make a motion to approve the 2024 tentative budget as presented by the town clerk.
Second.
Supervisor Flaherty?
Aye?
Councilwoman Cataldi?
Aye.
Councilman Abbott?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill? Councilwoman Wynn? Aye.
Do you think that was a misnomer from the town clerk? It is presented by her, because Paul handed it to her a week ago.
That's correct.
Yeah, I looked at it at first and said, "Wait." Okay, I looked back, I could have sworn, but I'm losing my memory, this next one, number 7, I thought that there was a workshop within the last 3 months on the procurement policy. It wasn't, it was on the proposed debt management policy.
Debt management.
This is just revisions that you've shown the board to our current
Yeah,
procurement.
these are just a couple of housekeeping items on the procurement policy. Notice that some of the wording wasn't right, and also some of the titles changed, and the employees are allowed to authorize purchase orders, so just made some corrections, so no major revisions.
Any questions from the board?
Just thank you, Paul, for working on this.
Well, I make a motion to adopt the revised procurement policy as presented by Paul Adams, Director of Finance.
Second. Supervisor Flaherty?
Aye?
Councilwoman Wynn?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill? Councilwoman Cataldi?
Aye.
Councilman Abbott?
Aye.
Well, number 8 is, speaking of milestone moments, I mean, I think this is a milestone resolution within the Coca-Cola Fairlife project process. A lot of work has been done by the Coke Fairlight team and also the town team, attorneys, engineers, 30 agencies around the state. Looked at 1,800 pages of original, I don't know what it's, prepared work on this to describe all the environmental things on this project. I guess I would say that unless the town board has any questions, and whether those questions would be for Jerry Goldman, who the town retained a couple months ago from Wazovia to counsel us through this secret process. On cue, the man gets up and gets to the podium.
I'll be ready.
Yes, because it is my intention to make a motion to make a determination of, a negative determination of significance on this, which negative in this case would be a good thing. But there is no significant environmental issues that were found or noted by the 30 agencies and everybody that looked at this. But before I do that, does the town board have any questions for Jerry?
I don't have any questions. I just want to thank Jerry for your communication with respect to the research and all the work that you've done. Clearly it was a heavy lift, so thank you very much, Jerry, for your input. Appreciate it.
If I can just share a thought or two. The town team was exemplary to work with. Everyone who's sitting around the table pretty much had a piece of the effort in reviewing all of the information, which ultimately wound up being about 2,800 pages of information, analyzing a number of different potential environmental impacts. You have in front of you tonight a resolution to adopt Part 2 and Part 3 of the environmental assessment form. The conclusion in Part 3 of the environmental assessment form is the determination of environmental significance. And as the supervisor pointed out, the review and the resolution that is before you is to adopt what was referred to as a negative declaration under the State Environmental Quality Review Act, which is essentially a finding that there are no significant adverse environmental impacts from this project. In support of that determination, the town did complete what's referred to as Part 2, which is an identification of potential project impacts, as well as a Part 3 evaluation of the magnitude and importance of those impacts. As part of the Part 3 analysis, there is a list of agencies which did review this, outside agencies, going from the Monroe County Department of Planning and Development, going all the way through. We received final comment from the Monroe County Department of Transportation actually yesterday. So we have fully annotated the document. In addition to that, what has been prepared is essentially a 20-page, is a 20-page explanation, if you will, of the rationale for each of the impacts, because the obligation of the town board is to take a hard look at the environmental impacts or potential environmental impacts and to make a reasoned elaboration of the rationale for making your determination of significance, either positive declaration or negative declaration. But the document, the Part 3 narrative, which is attached, constitutes that reasoned elaboration. I was corrected on one change, if I can, on the Part 3 narrative, on page 10 of that narrative. At the end of the paragraph, the first paragraph on the page, we should, for clarity, add the words "along County Line Road." And with that change, I think our entire team is comfortable with the document that is put before you for your consideration. And with that, again, I'm prepared to answer any questions you may have.
Would I to assume by that nobody has any questions for Mr. Bolden?
Or if I put everybody to sleep already.
No.
That happened when I was reviewing it all.
I love listening to you talk, Jerry. I'll tell you what, this is one that it's where the supplement 2 and 3 and all that is 20 pages. The resolution is only a page and a half, and I'm going to read it word for word. So this is a resolution of the town board, the town of Webster, adopting Part 2 and Part 3 of the full environmental assessment form and making a determination of significance under the State Environmental Quality Review Act for the development of a production facility by Fairlife LLC, a subsidiary of the Coca-Cola Company in the town of Webster. At a regular meeting of the Webster Town Board of Webster, New York, Monroe County, held at the town board meeting room on the 7th day of September 2023. All 5 board members were present. This following resolution is offered up by Supervisor Tom Flaherty and moved to its adoption. Whereas a proposed development of real property located at the eastern terminus of Tibor Road for a dairy processing facility consisting of a total of 110.4 acres has been proposed by Fairlife LLC. And whereas the town of Webster Town Board, after due notice and consent of all involved agencies, either by express consent or implied consent by failure to object within the mandated notice period, established itself as lead agency for the conduct of the coordinated environmental review of this type 1 action on August 17, 2023. And whereas the town board has reviewed and carefully considered the potential environmental impacts of the project as proposed and mitigated by Fairlight, as set forth in the Part 1 of the full environmental assessment form, as supplemented by the additional materials, studies, and responses to comments provided by the project sponsor, comments from involved agencies and interested parties, as well as comments from town staff and consultants. And whereas the town board has evaluated whether each potential environmental impact is adverse and significant, and whereas the town board is mandated to complete Part 2, the identification of potential project impacts, and Part 3, evaluation of the magnitude and importance of project impacts and determination of significance of the FEEF, which is the full environmental assessment form, to document its evaluations, findings, and conclusions. Now therefore be it resolved that the town of Webster Town Board adopts the attached parts 2 and 3 of the FEEF and determines that the Fairlight project will not have any significant adverse environmental impacts, and therefore hereby issues a negative declaration under the State Environmental Quality Review Act. That is my motion.
Second.
Supervisor Flaherty?
Aye.
Councilman Abbott?
Aye.
Councilwoman Cataldi?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Councilwoman Wynn?
Aye.
Thank you, Jerry. And by the way, thank you Haskell, thank you Fairlight, thank you Hope, thank you Tom, where you are, Tom Walsh from Barclay Damon. I'm sure I'm missing some people from the Coke team. Thank you to MRB. Thank you to Campus Construction Management, on the town team, to the town department head. I mean, it's unbelievable how many people have had input on this process in the last couple of months. It's been impressive, so thank you. And I'm sorry if I missed any one of you. Okay, well, the next one, number 9 tonight, out of an abundance of caution, he had put a resolution to set a public hearing for 2 weeks from tonight on the assumption that the town board might be entertaining at that time an industrial use permit for the Fairlight project. Through some other research that I think, Josh, you did, and also with our legal team, there is no need for a public hearing for that.
That is correct. The public hearing portion on the project will take place at the planning board, and then the planning board will provide its report and recommendation to the town board, and then the town board essentially votes to grant the permit. So there is no public hearing associated with that. So we're therefore withdrawing this resolution.
I'm so used to looking over at Charlie and saying, am I right in assuming I don't have to do a resolution? Well, I guess I'm just withdrawing this. Does there have to be a formal resolution to withdraw? Bill, you might need to go to the floor and take a figure on this along with Kyle or Patty.
We have it on the agenda as setting a public hearing. We can just rescind it or table it either way. You're not gonna do a public hearing. It's not required.
We're not tabling it. We're just
It's not required, so just take it off the agenda.
We're withdrawing resolution 9 tonight for the reasons that Josh just articulated. How does that sound? Sounds good to you? Resolution 10 tonight. Did all our friends from Coke and Fairlight just leave the building? Is it something we said? Well, resolution 10, is an interesting one that I guess Art, I probably would have you speak to before we vote on this.
Thanks, Supervisor. So, this is a resolution to sign an agreement with Barton and the Judas engineers. Barton and the Judas, as we call them, they were the engineer of record for phase 1 for this sewer treatment plant. They're the engineer of record for phase 2. They know our plants pretty much better than we do. They have been in all of our meetings with Coca-Cola Fairlife, and we're asking that they review the pre-treatment, the Fairlife pre-treatment drawings and specs, so we create some consistency with our communication and what they're producing and what we're receiving. So this is a contract, it's a proposed contract of $25,000. It is a time and expense contract, so it could go above that, it could go below it, if it goes above it, obviously, there would need to be a contract amendment.
Well, and this is why, I wish that some of the co-team had left, so they could have heard this firsthand, and so this is the type of thing where our code says that if the town, Josh, correct me if I'm wrong, if the town has to hire a certain firm to help with a project in town, we have the authority to pass that cost on and get reimbursed by the developer.
That is correct.
Okay. Now, we have held off on doing anything like that with Coke because Coke and Fairlife's the revenues that we're bringing in from the various applications, planning board submission, I think on July 12th. Josh, our average fee to submit in drawings to the planning board is about $900 for a development. How much was Coke's and Fairlife check?
It was a little over
$30,000,
$30,000.
okay. And granted, there's work that had to be done, so that money is brought in for a purpose. That's part of our fee schedule and how to do it. And there are other milestones along the way as this moves along, if it does move along, where Coke will, and building permits, there's a fee for that. There's the 3.5% fees that Paul very timely explaining about our fee structure for the site work in an engineer's estimate. We don't know how much that revenue is going to be to the town, but it's pretty safe to say that revenue, I know Paul, you and I have talked about it, we will keep track of that revenue and we will keep track of the expenses, not only internally, of how much time our department heads have had to put in on the project, but also to make sure that we have the cost of our, what do you call it, is he still here? Yes, he is. Jerry Goldman of MRB, and to some extent, this one that you just described. Art. It's long-winded. I'm glad you came back in. I'm glad you brought him back in. I'm not going to say it again. So, any questions from the board before we vote on this?
No.
All right.
And if there are no other questions, I would move to approve and authorize the supervisor to sign the proposal to obtain services from B&L to review the Fairlife pretreatment drawings and specs when they become available on the town's behalf to the total, do we want to do not exceed?
I think at this point we can do a not exceed, I think that'd be appropriate. Like I said, it is a time and expense. So depending on how many meetings, how many revisions
Sure.
we need to look at, we can always come back to that point.
And they did provide us with their billing rates and the proposal and all of that.
That is correct.
So I would make that motion not to exceed $25,000.
Second.
Councilwoman Cody?
Aye.
Councilman Abbott?
Aye.
Councilman Cato? Councilwoman Wynn? Supervisor Flaherty?
Aye. Okay, I'm not going to go back through my monologue to the last one, but the next one, number 11, somewhat falls in the same category, that monologue. It was nice to see over the last couple of weeks that as the Coke Fairlight team, the town team has kind of gotten our communication pretty tight. That I think initially Coke was looking at bringing on Passero Associates locally here to do the pipe, and we said, no, we'll take that over unless you guys, we'll take that over at the town. And Costage, well, I'll hand that off to you at this point, or to describe a little bit more.
Great, thanks Supervisor. Yes, this is almost identical to the previous resolution with B&L. We'll be hiring Costage Engineering to evaluate, do schematic design, cost estimates, bid documents, and construction oversight on the upsizing of the conveyance pipe from the Fairlight site on T-board to its connection point on Phillips Road. The proposed estimate at this point is $112,375. Again, this is a estimate. It is again a time and expense estimate, but that's it's pretty comprehensive. But that's what we're going to start with, and we should get everything covered.
And I know I've said, Art, probably you wake up in the middle of the night hearing me say this, is that you know this is a municipal project, the town is running it. I really believe we need to be communicating with Coke and Fairlife's engineers all the way along on this, so that nobody's getting surprised late in the game on this. Is that a safe statement? I'm glad you're back, Dave. Glad you're back. Because Dave, I think you were the one who said, yeah, the hostage thing works from your guys' perspective. Perfect. Any other questions?
I would move we authorize the supervisor to sign an agreement with Costage Engineering to provide engineering services for the upsizing of the sanitary sewer main from T-Moore Road to Phillips Road to accept the additional flows from the Fairlight facility.
Second.
In the amount not to exceed $112,000.
Second. Councilman Abbott?
Aye.
Councilwoman Wynn?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Councilwoman Metali?
Aye.
Supervisor Freeman?
Aye. Okay, next up, I think this is you again, Eric, right?
Yes. So, this is a agreement with Penn Power. Penn Power is a generator dealer, supplier, and service provider. Our previous contract has expired, so this is a service contract for 22 generators throughout the town, including all of the generators that are under the umbrella of the sewer department, the highway department, the town hall, park and rec. We went out to quotes on this, and this is a 2-year contract for a total of $24,188, and they were anywhere between $6,000 and $10,000 less than the other 2 bidders.
Any questions?
Only that the resolution states it's a 2-year contract per year. You want to keep it per year cost? I mean, it's the same thing, multiplied by 2, but I'm good with just the per year.
Yeah, that's
Annual cost, okay. I would move to have the supervisor authorize a 2-year contract with Penn Power for the preventive maintenance services to be performed on the 22 town-owned generators for the amount of $12,094 per year.
Second.
Councilwoman Metali?
Aye.
Councilman Abbott?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill? Councilwoman Wynn? Supervisor Freeman?
Aye. Okay, next up, we did a resolution on June 15th, back in the summer, where the town engaged Webster and Jerry Goldman to assist the town in the secret process. And in that resolution that we passed, we capped out that engagement at $10,000. For full disclosure, through August 31st billing, I think Paul Adams, Woods Oviatt's billings on this engagement over the first 2.5 months is $26,000 in aggregate?
29,000.
29,000. I'm getting my math wrong. And I'm not going to ask Mr. Goldman to sit here and give us a reconciliation of September 1st through September 7th. But I talked with Paul about how we could do this revision, letter of engagement. And Paul, I don't mean to, but you thought that it might be good to do the revision to have the cap go up to 40,000, knowing that we're already.
I think it is 26,000.
Is it
The
26?
6th was 19.
Yes, 26.
Okay.
Yeah, me on that.
Now, the interesting thing about this, and once again, the monologue I gave earlier, all right? I mean, we hired these firms to assist on this very large project, and this is a cost of doing business, or I should say a cost of doing business the right way. Now that Dave has come back in the room and Tom Walsh is coming back in the room, you can go back and look at the tape of what I said. I don't think I said anything to be upset with or is misconstrued. I think you probably know that the citizens are asking me, and rightfully so, you're hiring MRB, you're hiring Woods-Oviatt, you're doing all this stuff that you don't do. That's all coming out of taxpayer money. And I've said, I think you're looking at this the wrong way. You also need to understand that there is revenue coming in during this seeker process or the application process to go through planning board or whatever. And when you weren't here, Josh Artuso let everybody know that the fee that was paid when you submitted it to the planning board, your designs for preliminary and final, your sketch review back on July 12th was about a $30,000 check, correct? And as Paul Adams did our fee schedule earlier, our fee schedule is the metrics of how you fees for the planning board when somebody submits in. I think over the last couple of years, our average is about $900 when someone submits into the planning board. Now, the reason your check was $30,000 is your development is a heck of a lot bigger than a 50-house subdivision, isn't it? And there will be other, and we talked this over with the Code and Fairlight team proactively, and just so we're all on the same page, you're going to have building permits that you apply for, and that's a fee based on a metric of things that is not flat. There's a 3.5% fees on the engineer's estimate. There is revenue that is coming into the town government that is significantly higher than a typical development. And I think that we need to be cognizant of that also to make sure that, our town department heads are awesome, but they got full-time jobs working on all the other developments going on in town, besides the largest, private investment in this 9-county area in 60 years. So I think it's been a good move, and I think the town board thinks it's a good move to hire talent like MRB, to hire talent like Campus Construction Management, to hire Woods-Oviatt to navigate us through this process and be on the town team and work with the code team. I think it's gone very well. That's the second part of my monologue on this. So, town board, before somebody reads out this resolution, because I can't, do you have any questions about capping this out at $40,000 after we did a June 15th resolution where we said it would be at $10,000?
Given the amount of work that has gone into this and the amount of choreographing to bring all of the agencies together and get it done, I do not have any questions. And I guess we should not be surprised.
No, well, Jerry, you're pretty close to the end of this engagement, right?
We are.
Okay. Well, then I can say this
We'll
without...
miss you.
It has been a pleasure to work with the guy. He's everything that, his reputation preceded him as being the guy on seeker, and he did not disappoint in my interaction with him,
So I would move to authorize the town supervisor to execute a revised letter of engagement with Woods-Oviatt Gilman LLP for consultation and advice related to the legal compliance with the mandates of the State Environmental Quality Review Act seeker approval process associated with the Coca-Cola Company Fairlife project, not to exceed $40,000.
Second. Councilwoman Cottley?
Aye.
Councilwoman Wynn? Aye. Councilman Cahill? Councilman Abbott?
Aye.
Supervisor Flaherty?
Aye. All right, this is a little bit, the next one's off my monologue. It's not quite directly at that, but this one about seeking survey services associated with the Bolter Industrial Parkway extension. I'm going to have either Pat Stevens, our highway superintendent, and/or Matt Chatfield might be involved in explaining this, but I will say, on July 20th, about 6 weeks ago, we did a resolution to solicit proposals for engineering design on that extension, correct? And the board passed that.
Correct.
Where are we at in that process? And I realize we're down a town engineer and we're starting to hand off a lot of things that MRV are doing in-house. Have we moved forward with soliciting proposals for engineering design on the road?
Not just yet, and that is solely because of what you just said. A former town engineer did heavy lifting on that. I'm covering a lot of those areas currently. I haven't been able to get through content of that RFP, although I did just finish my review earlier tonight. It's back to MRB for final editing, and then we hope it goes out either next week or the week after, which would bring the bids for those design services back early October, so we can get started on the design.
And Pat, I was kind of under the assumption that one of the reasons, and I know one of the resolutions later on that Matt Chatfield will speak to, that I think is tied to this road extension. Kind of hard to design a road without that survey, probably.
Correct, so there's a few different ways to put it.
I'm learning
Set
that.
of professional services, but we may combine it into one depending on the firms that are interested, or we may do it separately. This resolution gives us the option to put out a separate RFP for the survey portion of the services, but they are very much together at the survey in order to do the design. But this gives us the option to reach out to survey-specific companies as well. But we're not exactly sure how the final contract for professional services will come together. It could very well be the same company that does the survey and the design, but this gives us the option to separate it.
Gotcha. Well, I'll call this part one of resolutions associated with the Bolter Parkway extension. And like I said, Matt, I think you'll be up on the podium talking about part two in a couple minutes. Does anybody have any questions at the board level about what this resolution is?
This is the extension essentially we're doing for the Fair Lake project, correct? So the survey itself, I understand we're just going out for RFPs, but my understanding of the survey is you pretty much know the direction the road's going to go.
Yeah, there's a pretty direct alignment. Yeah, that makes sense for the connection.
So all the parties involved, you understand that that's the direction the road's going to go?
Yeah, we've had a lot of coordination meetings with the property owners involved there. Matt Chatfield have orchestrated a lot of that, but yeah, there's been a lot of communication about the general location of where this is going with all parties that are interested in that area. Yeah.
Thanks, Pat.
Any other questions? Okay. Well, then I make a motion to issue a request for proposal, RFP, for professional survey services associated with the Bolter Industrial Parkway Extension Project.
Second.
Supervisor Flaherty?
Aye.
Councilman Kano?
Aye.
Councilwoman Wynn? Aye. Councilwoman Matali?
Aye.
Councilman Abbott?
Aye.
Okay, I asked Paul Adams on this next one that back on July 6th, we had done a resolution by the town board to engage MRV for professional services related to engineering, site, seeker, and building reviews and inspections for the Coke Fair Lake project. And that resolution on July 6th, 2 months ago, had a cap of $35,000. Through the August 31st billing, it's at around 42,000, Paul?
Yeah, that's correct.
And similar to what we discussed about Jerry and Woods-Oviatt, I think there was more work involved in the secret process than all of us anticipated. And a lot of that's because when the 30 agencies came back, Coke's team and our team, there was a lot more work done. And I think that is exactly why through August 31st, this has gone over 35,000. Really a funny look from the deputy supervisor. Maybe I should also say that we're in 3 different contracts with MRV right now. We are in a general services contract that this has nothing to do with. We have also spliced off any work they're doing on the 1,600-foot extension of Bolter, which Matt will explain a little bit later on. And then this is specific to the Fairlight project, which really had two components to it. The seeker planning, zoning part of the process. And then once they go into the ground and we have to do the inspections and all that stuff, we reserve the right to utilize MRB to help us on that. By the time we go to utilize them to help us on that, under this contract, if Brayden Connor, who's now not here, our HR director, if we have got a crackerjack town engineer, staff, and whatever, I don't know if we will need MRB as much.
It's a wonderful explanation, but you didn't give me a chance to say why I was looking at you like that.
Do I have something like that?
No.
Okay.
No, because I think to say on several of these anticipated costs, that it was more than we thought. And I think that, until you get into it, how can you even think what it's going to cost? You can give a very high-level estimate, but by the time you're really into the thick of it, then you really know what it's going to cost. So I think it's fair to say it's not that people underestimated costs or didn't think they were going to get into that. Just until you're actually doing work, there's really something to know.
Well, and Patty, you know what? The best indicator of that was the initial timeline had seeker significance declaration being done
It should have been way earlier.
17th
Yes.
of August, I want to say. And once it started to all come back at the Coke team and the town team, it became apparent that we're not going to hit this August 17th date. We could if we lazy it, and we're not going to lazy it.
Right.
Coke doesn't want to lazy it, the town doesn't want to lazy it. So really, I'll make the statement that what we knew going into August 17th that made us say we got to push seeker significance out a few weeks. You could have made the argument at that time we should push it out to September 1st, September 21st, or October 5th. But the Coke team and the town team said, you know what, we still can get this done by September 7th, but we're going to have to burn the midnight oil. And that burning the midnight oil and putting in the overtime and all that is why we were able to do it tonight. But that's ours. That's ours out of Jerry, and that's ours out of MRB. And you're right, Patty, we couldn't have anticipated that back on July 6th when we did the MRB, the resolution for a cap of 35,000. So, Paul, and unlike the Jerry and Woods Oviatt, which is coming to an end, he was hired specifically for seeker. MRB, because it will be open-ended going into the next couple of years for inspections on the site and all that when they're building. Paul and I talked about, Paul thought it might be good to go with an $80,000 cap.
Right. We thought it was appropriate at this point in time.
Are there any questions? Otherwise, I will make a motion. I move to amend and allow the supervisor to sign an agreement with MRB for professional services related to engineering, site, seeker, and building reviews and inspections for the Fairlife project in an amount not to exceed $80,000.
Second.
Councilwoman Cataldi?
Aye.
Councilman Abbott?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Councilwoman Wynn? Aye. Supervisor Flaherty?
Aye. Next one up, did I ever tell you guys that Meredith Carrington was a really good town engineer? We miss her.
Supervisor Flaherty, usually we've not had dinner, and we have people that have to get on planes in the morning. Do you need us for any
I'm
other?
just taking a look at the rest of the 16, 17, 18, nothing to do with 19. I'll tell you what, can we do 19 now, Matt?
Sure, that's
You know what 19 is? 19 is a proposed resolution to authorize the town of Webster Town Board to designate the Webster Economic Development Alliance, WEDA, as its municipally designated nonprofit economic development organization. Matt Chatfield, the executive director of WEDA, is going to give an explanation to all of us about why we're doing this resolution. Proposing.
Great, thank you, Mr. Supervisor. So the long story short is New York State has created a new shovel-ready site program called the Fast New York program. And under that program, that would allow either a municipality or its designated economic development agency to apply for funds for pre-development or capital improvements to industrial sites to make them shovel-ready for development. And our intention is to apply for pre-development funding for a site that's currently owned by Xerox Corporation and submit it for, at this time, we're still waiting on some estimates to come back about exactly how much we're going to be asking for, but it's roughly $200,000 in engineering fees, some of which would be associated with pre-development activity on the site, other fees which would be associated with engineering of an extension of Bolter Industrial Parkway that would go through that site. In order for me to submit the application, I need to be designated, I as in WEDA, needs to be the designated economic development agency of the town of Webster.
And that ties back into the discussion of engineering for advanced students.
Yes, ma'am.
Great, succinct explanation.
Thank you.
Any questions or comments by the board or by the Coke team before they leave on that one? It's quite a puzzle, isn't it? Okay. Well, I'm going to make a motion. No, I can't. What did I say? Man. I'm going to make a motion to authorize the Town of Webster Town Board to designate the Webster Economic Development Alliance, WEDA, as its municipally designated nonprofit economic development organization.
Second.
Supervisor Flaherty?
Aye.
Councilman Abbott?
Aye.
Councilwoman Catali?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Councilwoman Lynn? Aye.
And now everything left on this has nothing to do with Coke and Fairlight.
Thank you.
So because we are in the process of hiring a new town engineer, the show goes on. Mylars that need to be signed, right, Bill?
And file them with the county unless they're signed by a town engineer.
So this next resolution is really to have MRB step in to be the town engineer on things like Mylar signing until such time that we have. Is that a good explanation? Any questions? Make a motion to authorize a member of the MRB Group project team to sign documents on behalf of the town of Webster in their capacity as acting town engineers.
Second.
Supervisor Flaherty?
Aye.
Councilman Abbott?
Aye.
Councilwoman Catali?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Councilwoman Lynn? Aye.
The next one, Pat Stevens, what was Mary Harrington before she left the town?
She was our town engineer as well as our MS4 stormwater official.
Is it the DEC or who is it that says that the town has to have an official?
Yeah, I believe it's in the general permit.
Any questions on that? Pat drew the short straw.
Pat drew the only straw.
Yeah, Pat's the
Pat
problem
has
also.
the capability to do this.
He does.
Fortunate that we have this talent and expertise.
Not for nothing, highway doesn't oversee drainage, so it's an
And Councilman Abbott just told me he was not coming out of retirement.
Yeah, there's your job there, Bill. You'll do SWIPs for us, right? Great. I make a motion to designate the superintendent of highways as the interim town MS4 stormwater official.
Second.
Supervisor Flaherty?
Aye.
Councilwoman Lynn?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Councilwoman Catali?
Aye.
Councilman Abbott?
Aye. I would move that we authorize the town supervisor to sign an agreement with Atlantic Testing for construction testing services on the new highway facility. Second.
Councilman Abbott?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Councilwoman Catali?
Aye.
Councilwoman Lynn?
Aye.
Supervisor Flaherty?
Aye. And Bill, I just wanted to, that's all within the bonding of the highway department and all under the, right, okay. We're just signing the contract. Okay. The last three, yeah, boilerplate kind of, no, they're not, I'm sorry. There's four, and I don't want to short it. That's right, I missed it. My eyesight's going.
That's all right.
Four gentlemen waited here for an hour and had to sit through this. You're John Marzano, right?
I am, yes.
Yeah.
Sorry, I got away from my kids for a minute.
That's okay. Did you find this entertaining tonight, or?
Very educational.
Oh, my God.
Fortunately, you were not at the microphone when you just said that.
Yeah. So, John Marzano's here tonight. I think you live at 811 Houston Road.
Yeah, you want me to step up here?
Yeah, if you'd like. Although I think, and I always say on these, is the PAT letter in there, or is it the ARP letter? It's the PAT. Yeah. When
Yes,
Pat,
it is.
when he writes that he's the highway superintendent, I've never seen the board not say, okay, let's do it. But John, do you want to say a few words about the fence you're putting in?
No, I appreciate everyone's time. I honestly don't think this was, my property was under the easement, so I have a fence there currently, built a pool for the boys, and, we had to get a compliant fence. Many pellets sitting in my driveway, so I wanted to, I got the process started many months ago, a little bit, I was in an easement. So, I'm just looking for approval to, proceed with a compliant fence for the pool. Around the perimeter of the house, we'd remove the existing chain link for the 6-foot privacy fence around the perimeter of the home.
I'll tell you this, John, Attorney Taylor is sitting in tonight, Town Attorney Genesi. This is his bailiwick, Town Attorney Genesi. He's back, I think, from vacation next week. I will make sure, Josh, will make sure that John and Charlie Genesi get together, because there's that stuff that they have to do together to facilitate this quickly. I'm not going to put that in you. All right? So,
Okay.
other than that, anybody got any questions on this?
Do not.
I make a motion to approve a license agreement to locate a fence within the town drainage easement at 811 Houston Road, having tax ID number 063-120-2-22.
Second. Supervisor Flaherty?
Aye.
Councilwoman Wynn?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Councilwoman Catali?
Aye.
Councilman Abbott?
Aye.
Hey, what do you say the liaisons of these departments to the next three? Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you for hanging in there with us tonight.
No problem.
Thank you.
Have a good night. Thank you.
The next is a motion to declare the following items for auction from the police department: a 2018 Ford Explorer, asset tag 06581, 2019 Ford Explorer, asset tag 06578.
Councilwoman Catali?
Aye.
Councilman Abbott?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill? Councilwoman Wynn?
Aye.
Supervisor Flaherty?
Aye.
Okay, Supervisor, I see what you're doing here. The next is a resolution to declare the following items for recycling from the sewer department: trickling filter building, asset tag 925044, trickling filter engineering fee.
What is that?
I'm sorry.
It says, we're declaring this for recycling, a trickling filter engineering fee.
I gotta be honest with you,
The fee?
the whole, you wanna jump into this?
My guess is it was part of it was capitalized as part of the building cost and just shown separately.
Okay.
Building cost will not engineering.
Asset tag 925045, trickling structure cost estimate, asset tag 925046, distributor rotary type 20RH, asset tag 002031.
Second. Councilwoman Catali?
Aye.
Councilwoman Wynn? Aye. Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Councilman Abbott?
Aye.
Supervisor Flaherty?
Aye.
Is this the same building we just took a wrecking ball to last year?
That would be the one.
There you go.
The-
Now I know why it's.
The dome is gone,
And that's being toted away for recycling.
absolutely, and actually the town will reap the benefit of all that scrap.
Fantastic.
And I'll make a motion to declare the following items for recycling or transfer from community development and engineering departments: a Sony digital camera, asset tag number 003400. It's actually being transferred to assessment. Legal file cabinet, asset tag number 3829, that's being recycled. And a two-door file cabinet, asset tag number 3212, that's me.
Second.
Supervisor Flaherty,
Aye?
Councilwoman Vitale,
Aye.
Councilman Abbott,
Aye.
Councilman Cahill, Councilwoman Wood.
Aye.
Okay, that concludes the formal session tonight of this meeting. I am making a motion to go into executive session under section 105, subchapter regarding proposed pending or current litigation. That's my motion.
Second.
All in favor?
I am inviting the town board and Paul Adams as the only attendees. Kyle, you will also stay here.